Well, first, let me introduce myself. I'm Sergio González, the CEO of SummuS Render. Many of you probably know us for our render farm service, which we've been offering for many years, especially in the Spanish animation industry. We're the ones who did Tadeo, Futbolin, Capture the Flag, Blue and Malone. They're here today. But today we're here to tell you about something completely different. We've looked at the future of animation, and we've started working on something completely unrelated to what we were doing up to now. Basically, I would like to start this presentation with a journey into the past. Let's think about how animation has evolved over the years. And if we go back 50 years, which isn't really that long ago, this particular film was created by a large number of people in a building, all drawing thousands of pictures non-stop for years. And none of the tools we use today existed. No computers, no hard drives, no renders, none of that. It was completely different to how we do things today. So, before continuing with the presentation, I would like to know what the profile is of the people that are here today. How many of you have worked in animation as a manager, as technical coordinator, producer, someone who had to take care of production for a film? How many are there? Okay, quite a few. Well, you probably had to deal with budgets. How much will the renders cost? How many artists do I need? Where do I put them? All that, which are the issues around doing a production in a defined time frame with deadlines that in the end can't be met. It's incredible, really. And how many have worked as artists, have created art using Photoshop, modeling, lighting, rigging? Okay. So you probably also know that today there are productions collaborating worldwide, and animation technology is not based in one single country. I know people who, after working here, went to Futbolin in Argentina and spent some time there. And in the end, it's not easy to line up jobs when you're also moving around all the time. So it's tricky participating in productions that are all spread out. And now a more general question. How many of you use the cloud? Spotify, Netflix, Gmail, whatever. I guess we all use these services. But you'll probably agree that they haven't quite reached the animation world. We can see it's wanting to get there. Maybe you use Dropbox to share files, or so there are some things. But there's no cloud-based animation service as such. So this idea of, we have 3 new designers, I just move this bar and add 3 people, and afterwards they go home and I delete the space and save that expense. This idea of pay-per-use in the cloud doesn't really exist for animation at this stage yet. At the moment, there's still a gap there. No one has solved this particular issue for various reasons. Maybe the technology is not there yet, or one has to agree on the licensing to make this commonly available. Or people say, the cloud is fine for Gmail, but my productions and my data I prefer keeping on my computer, and it's a bit more complex. But we all agree that the cloud could be a viable solution for this. And we all recognize that there is something there that could work. We're just not sure exactly what. What do we expect from the cloud? When we say, let's go cloud-based and offer a versatile service, what are the primary motivations for this service? Well, the first thing is savings. That is basic. We want to be on top of the budget. We want to know how much it's going to cost us to do more animation with the same money, or with better quality, or more material. If we want to make it longer to better tell the story, we can do it if we have saved some money elsewhere. Next, we should mention innovation. There's always some new software that can do things better, a new tool to help create a character more quickly, There's always innovation in the cloud. Something that everyone has been asking for ages, and we have seen it with the render farm, is the possibility of working off-site. I think that is a game changer on this platform. When someone says, "For this, I want to hire a guy who's in China. How do I arrange that? How can we make this work? Do I need to spend a fortune bringing him here for 3 months, paying for his flights, his accommodation, etc. to make it worth his while? Do I do that, or do I rather just hire someone here who's not the person I wanted, but it works out cheaper?" To be able to do this and make sure it's secure, you need to ensure privacy. So, for my data to be as secure as having it in my studio physically, while people are working remotely, and for me to be able to look at profiles of collaborators without worrying about where they are physically located, because I'm guaranteed that I have control over my data, that would add a lot of value, having a solution of this type. Of course, we don't want problems with software providers. Everything needs to be legal. Everyone who works with us needs to have a software license. The software they use needs to be validated by us to make sure we're all using the same versions, so that when a new person starts, you don't have to first say, "Install this whole list of stuff and see if you can make it work." What I want is for a new person to join and be able to start working, exactly like having an IT person set it up in your studio. And also, we want it to be easy to use. If it's not easy, it's not going to work. People aren't going to use it. So, if we look at the fact that there will be savings, innovation, it will be multi-site, we have privacy, legality, and it's easy, you get to simple. And this basically is simple animation. And we want to launch a new era in animation. After seeing this presentation, you might think, what does simple animation offer me? Well, it offers animation in the cloud. It will allow producers to control their budgets, avoid render costs, and of course the thousands spent on workstations that you're keeping in a storeroom because you don't have people working right now, but you need them for when they do. It will allow artists to work on several productions at once, as you don't have access to any data other than what you're working on in a particular studio. You could be working on various projects at a time. One would just have to see if they allow that or not. You could even have your own projects, and it's very simple. You don't need to spend a cent on infrastructure. So basically we are saying simple animation is a revolution. We like to think it will be a game changer in the world of animation. But the formal definition of what we're talking about is a professional studio in the cloud, which has a configurable pipeline. Maybe that is the most revolutionary part. How many times have studios spent a fortune on creating a pipeline for one specific project, one particular production, done in a particular way with a specific team, and then for the next production they have to start again from zero, or maybe there isn't even another production. There are things that require big investments, but the truth is we don't know what will happen tomorrow. So what is really powerful about Simple is that in addition to the infrastructure, we also provide coordination and all the multi-site logic integrated in the pipeline. It's all included. So, who could benefit from this service? Let's think about the possibilities. From freelancers, to architects, to mid-sized animation studios doing special effects or commercials, even very big studios, because this solution is completely scalable. Later we'll look at the technology aspects. But it's not just animation, also video games, even industrial design, where often people are spread out and they could make use of such a system. In fact, we have various big companies already interested. And one of the main advantages is that this will be available worldwide. There's no physical location, no saying, this is available here, or where can I hire people and connect to this? It doesn't matter. We'll talk about the details later, but we use the IBM cloud, so theoretically we can use any IBM data center to connect someone to the closest one and not experience any delay. So it will be exactly like working locally. There are no limits. So, to explain how it all works, we've made a short video done by my friend John from LA, and they have an animation project. So, let's watch the video. John is in LA and has a great idea for a movie. So he enters Simple Animation and creates a new studio in 2 clicks. He selects a primary data center where the main storage, license server and other central services will be located. Then he decides to start working on the principal script. He creates a workstation profile with just Adobe Photoshop and Toon Boom's Storyboard Pro. For the moment, he's okay with the free storage provided, and he doesn't need a render node yet. After a few days, he has a first release of his story ready, so he publishes it via the integrated pipeline. He was able to use his own Wacom board to generate the content directly online, so he didn't need to change any of his tools. After the script is finished, he starts working on the main characters. But it's a huge task for a single person. As John works in the industry, he has quite a few friends who really liked his project. So he creates a new workstation profile with Autodesk Maya, and he invites his friends to his studio, assigning them the necessary access rights in 1 click. Thanks to Simple's pipeline and shotgun integration, each member knows at all times what they need to do every day. John can see a daily update of what has been done. As content is generated online, it is kept online. Users can't download content from the cloud unless they're explicitly allowed to. So they can create it, they can view it, but they can't remove it. After a few months of hard work, they can show parts of their job to a bigger production company and generate funding. Now they just need to hire this Spanish expert in Arnold. And what was the name of that German modeler specializing in animal characters? But what a pity, neither of them is free to travel at the moment. No problem. John sends them an invitation abroad. Each user connects their virtual workstation desktop to Simple's closest data center, reducing the graphical user interface delay and jitter below 80 milliseconds. All workstation configurations are identical to the pool located in the main data center. New users abroad work just like the other users in John's studio. They get the pending tasks from the interface based on Shotgun. They use Simple's integrated pipeline, which takes care of managing which packets and data are required for the specific scenes each user is working on. When the project nears its end, they can increase the number of render nodes on demand. The system automatically takes care of data synchronization and collection. This elastic render farm allows for the reduction of delivery times while matching content readiness. It maximizes the usage of the available nodes as it is fully integrated with the pipeline. Thanks to Simple Animation, John could match his budget to the needs of the production, allowing him to deliver the movie with savings of up to 60%. But most importantly, the expense profile of this movie allowed him to drastically reduce the risks, increasing the overall performance of the production. I hope this has cleared up some of your doubts about how the architecture works. Now we're going to look at the technical side of things, because in the end, we are a technology platform. We are SummuS Render, a Spanish company providing a global service. So you might ask what this is based on. How do we know it works? So the most important point is that we use the IBM cloud. We've signed an agreement with IBM to use their cloud, with them as the principal hardware provider of the virtualizable GPU workstations and data storage. So basically, we are using their cloud with maybe 50 data centers worldwide, so you can access it from anywhere. Looking at the technology, we use VMware as virtualization software for all the automatic image provision and the virtualization of the GPUs. And we use Tesla M60, which is the top of the range available today for graphics capacity and shared service. I guess you would like to see the tool now, what it looks like, how it works, and for that I want to introduce Eduardo Serna. Many of you know him. He has a lot of experience in animation. He was involved with Lightbox at the beginning, building the pipeline. Afterwards, he was working with MPC at CineSite, so he has a lot of background in tool development. So, Eduardo, over to you. Hi, I'm going to try show you a short video. What you'll see is the prototype we have created for our presentation in SIGGRAPH 2 months ago. It's more advanced now, but it's enough to show you what the platform offers. We want simple animation to be, as the name suggests, a simple platform. So we want to offer simple interfaces, so that whether you're a producer, a manager, or an artist, you should be able to use it without any special training. I'm going to hit play and stop at various sections. We'll have a web platform and a desktop app you download to use it for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And in it you will find, just like in any app, a contact area, an area to download software, and a registration area. As you can see, registration is similar to any other platform. You enter your details, and then what is important is indicating the site you want to use for Simple as a user. Obviously, the site you choose should be the one that gives the lowest latency in order to have the best virtual experience. In this case, we made this video in Madrid, and we have really low latency with the Madrid data center, so that's the one we chose. Once you've registered, just like on any other platform, you log in and access it. And what is going to happen in here is that you have two options. You can work as a user, like an artist in some discipline, or as a manager. What you're seeing is the profile area. Here you can change your settings. If you go somewhere else in the world, you can change your password. Let's quickly move through the various areas that we all know. As you will have seen on other sites, here you have the support area, so if you have any problems, you can open a support ticket to say, please help, I'm not sure how this works, which shouldn't be necessary. Then we have the notifications area. These are the purchases you've made, you've hired this equipment, or you have a new graphics card that you can start using, and now we're going to look at how to create a studio. So, I'm here as a manager, and I want to set up a studio. Again, we've tried to make this very simple. It's a wizard with 3 steps. First, you choose a name for your studio, or the default, give it a code, and then again choose the principal site. This doesn't have to be the same site as the user. It can be the area in the world where most of the collaborators are. This principal site is where all the production files will be, all the storage, processor and render farms, all that sort of infrastructure. This is not to say that if you have people working elsewhere, they will experience delays or not have access to the files at the same time as the rest. But obviously it's convenient to locate your principal site as closely as possible to where most people are working. So you choose a principal site, accept the terms and conditions. The second step is the invoicing information, which you can also do later on. You can skip it for now. And the third step is to add or invite people to join your studio. You can add people that are on Simple or invite them via email. Okay, now we are in an actual studio, a demo. We have a list of collaborators working on the team. You can add more or remove them. But for now, these are just the people that are on the team. They don't have access to any files yet. For them to have access, you need to create some workstation profiles. We've created 5 here as an example. We've given them names that correspond to different departments in the animation industry, but you can give them any name you want. We wanted the interface to be really simple. You give each profile a name, choose a profile, high, medium or low, although we can create others for you. This profile determines the kind of CPU you'll have, the amount of RAM and the graphics, the GPU. And then you choose the software you want to put onto this machine. This is something we're quite proud of. You just drag the software across. If you click on it again, you can choose plugins. And you can even choose the software and plugin versions. It's that easy. So once you go into the virtual machine, you'll find everything there. If you want to change software, you exit, change the software, log back on, and there it is instantly. Okay, the next thing you need for an animation studio or effects studio in order to be able to work, apart from computers, is storage. Somewhere to save productions and what you publish. So we've created a storage space where you can create primary storage drives, one per project, and secondary ones. The primary ones are for the media used in production, and the secondary ones for general files. For instance, texture resources, animation references, etc. And we give all the projects access to the storage drives. Again, it's very easy. You choose a name, choose the amount of space you need, and a drive letter on the system. The next very interesting thing is that we've started working on integrating production managers like Shotgun and F-Track. So you can create users, tasks, assets, shots, and sequences, and work with them in Simple. It's quite complex for us to create this, but we want it to be simple for you. All you need to do is enter the address of your Shotgun Studio, an ID access app to be able to log on as you, and we take care of all the data synchronization between Shotgun and Simple. And now we get to where it all comes together, the project area. Again, creating a project is easy. You choose a name and a code, and this is where you start making things join up and flow. You take the people you've invited onto your team and give them access. So now they can log in and work on the project. You have to decide which machines they'll have access to. So this one gets the rigging machine, this one the animation machine, and you also choose what storage drives they can use. What else do we have in a studio? Processing farms. So we can assign the users a shared drive where clients can send their processing jobs, be they renders or texture simulations, or even publications. You can have a shared processing queue, or you can have a dedicated processing farm. Say you need 10 nodes with these characteristics in order to do your processing. Shared processing farms work with credits. These depend on your production plan and your systems, whereas a dedicated farm would be something that is included in a particular service contract. Then we have the invoicing area and the studio profile area. This is where the invoicing data appears, which we haven't entered yet. Now, let's change the context. Let's log on as an artist renting access to certain virtual machines. So you arrive at the connect area and you'll see you have access to certain profiles with particular types of software and access to storage. So you connect, and what you will see now is what happens when you connect to a virtual machine with its graphical interface. And now we can start talking about the software folder you have selected and the pipeline. When we say we want Simple to have a totally configurable pipeline, what we mean is that we can't oblige studios to work in a way that suits us. Rather, we want you to be able to work the way you want in Simple Animation. This is done with a system of graphics nodes, whereby you create your sections or your departments. You decide which components you'll have as imports and exports. For instance, a modeling department will import references and export geometry publications in Alembic, in Maya, or what have you. Then you create other disciplines with components inside. If the formats are compatible, you can start creating them and set up the pipeline. What is happening here on our virtual machine is that the launcher has opened, and it is showing us the projects we have access to. You choose a project, and now you see in the second column the tasks you have assigned within the connected production system, Shotgun, F-Track, or whatever. So you choose one of these tasks and open a piece of software. Easy. Now, Maya, in this case, knows which project you want to work on and who you are, so you have access to all the paths, you have your configured workspace, and working should be totally fluid and easy. We've created a tools manager. In this case, we've only put in 3. We wanted to reduce the number of general tools that appear in all the software and all the disciplines that you create in a pipeline to 3. And these are common to whichever workflow you use. The first one is a file manager to organize your user files. The second one is a context manager, so you can change contexts and indicate to the software that you have finished a particular task and are moving on to another. And the third is a scene breakdown that analyzes your scene and tells you, today you'll be working on this particular step of the production, you need to load this in order to start working. You do your work, and when you need to publish your scene, it recognizes which parts of it are important to pass on to other collaborators. What we can see here is the file manager. I've opened a file we created with the geometries of a little character. This is our super simple. So we have one geometry as a base and 2 copies to create facial expressions as an example. As you can see in the video, you can save various versions, but these are still user files. These are my files, no one else can access them. They're in my workspace for doing this task. When I'm happy with the modeling, I can publish them. This is our scene breakdown. I can see that there are 2 components that are relevant in this scene, which are the main geometry and the facial expressions, which could be used in rigging, for example. Now, when you hit Publish, a new wizard opens with various quality settings that will depend on the kind of components you've selected. You set whatever you want to set and publish. So now you've created a new modeling package because you were busy with the modeling task. But it's not just a Maya image that you've saved. You've also exported for each component a file in the format selected in the pipeline. And you've created a packet file. It's all in the database, it's been synchronized with Shotgun, etc., and it's available to be reviewed. Now we're going to change the context and do a shading task. So we open a new file and load the model that was exported in the previous step, and I'm going to add some basic shading just so you can see how the process works. And even though we've changed to a different department, the basic tools are still the same. So once you've learned how they work, you can use them in all the departments. This doesn't mean that there aren't also specific tools for each area. So now I've published the shading packet, and we're going to change to the rigging task, which brings us to the end of the technical side of things. So you open the scene breakdown again, which shows you that what you need to load right now is a geometry published by the shading department with all its shaders applied and all the materials. And in the modeling department, someone has created some facial expressions that you can connect as blend shapes afterwards. So I'm going to load the scene. To load it, you use the same wizard again. And now you can start your little rig. Create an animation control, link everything, and publish it so that they can start using it in layout, basically. And even if the rig needs to be updated later on, that can be done in animation or in layout. But as I said earlier, this is not a closed pipeline. I'm using as examples departments and disciplines that we're all familiar with, but you can create your own with whatever elements you want. So we publish the entire rig in order to be used in the layout department, and we have the first rig packet with its components published. From my side, I think that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this technical presentation. I hope you like what you've seen of the product. We're happy to answer questions, so if you have any, we'd be delighted to deal with them. And just so you know, from here onwards, animation will be different. So welcome to the future with us. Thank you.